Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Hindustan Foods Limited Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company which are based on the beliefs, opinions and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference has been recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sameer Kothari, Managing Director. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone to our Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. I hope all of you are doing well. I'm joined on the call by Mr. Ganesh Argekar, who is the Executive Director, by Mr. Mayank Samdani, who is the Group CFO, and Vicky Solanki, who is the Head of Corporate Communication. In addition to them, there's Bankim, who is our Company Secretary, and the team of SGA, who are our Investor Relations Advisors. I hope everyone has had a chance to go through our updated investor presentation, which has been uploaded on the exchange and also on our company website. Coming to the specifics of the quarter, we had a stable quarter with revenues and profits along the expected lines. I think I would like to take this opportunity to highlight the fact that our business is boring and predictable most of the times, primarily because we deal in FMCG products whose demand is relatively stable and has a fundamental bias towards growth due to the increase in the population and the increased consumption due to the growing GDP. The second reason that our business is boring and predictable is that our dedicated manufacturing model shields us from the short-term vagaries of demand as well as inflationary pressures. We are able to pass on the inflated cost of various commodities. However, there might be a lag in some cases, but principally all costs do get passed on. In order to add some excitement to the business, we strive to grow at a rate which is greater than the structural growth in the FMCG industry. This, when our base was lower, meant doubling the turnover every year. And now with slightly larger turnover, we still aspire to grow between 25 and 30% per annum. In order to do this, we continue to invest in factories, both greenfield as well as acquisition. However, the gestation period for our investment is around a year. Thus, the current quarter's growth is a result of the ramping up of the Hyderabad and Silvassa facilities, work for which had started nearly 9 or 10 months ago. Based on this, we are confident about our target of achieving 2,000 crores of turnover this year, which would be approximately 40% more than last year. We are also confident of our target of 4,000 crores by FY25. And in order to achieve that, we've taken some steps, which include setting up of the ice cream facility in UP that we expect to start commercial production by Q4 of FY22. The expansion of the bar project, the soap bar project in Hyderabad, which we expect to start commercial production by Q4 of FY22. In addition to that, we are also setting up and investing in a health and wellness division and also diversifying our product range further into color cosmetics and little sports shoes. We've now lined up capex plans which will take our gross block to nearly 600 crores within the next year or so. I will be taking specific questions about our plans and strategy, but in the meantime, I'm happy to state with a little confidence that अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं. I will now hand over the call to Mayank Samdani, our Group CFO, who will take over and walk you through the financial results for the quarter and the half year ended September 30 to 2021.
Hi. Good afternoon, everybody. I will take you through the financial performance for the quarter and the half yearly FY 2021-22. We are pleased to share that the growth momentum in the business has sustained. Our total revenue for the quarter is increased by 46% on year-to-year basis to 467 crores, and for the half year by around 77%, year-on-year to rupees 925 crores. EBITDA for the quarter has seen a growth of 25% year-on-year and it stood at 28.3 crores. And for the half year, it is 55.1 crores, an increase of nearly 50% over the last year. Our PAT has increased about 38% year-on-year to rupees 11.5 crores. And for the half year, increased to rupees 22.6 crores, an increase of nearly 80% over the last year. Our net worth as of September 2021 stands at around 250 crores, and our debt to equity is comfortable at the ratio of 1:1. As regards the ROCE, it is improved and is now at 18.95 crore as compared to 7.73% as of March. As you are aware that a lot of our investment is still work in progress, we believe there is scope of further improvement of ROCE once our capital in progress will start giving returns between Q4 FY 21-22 and Q1 of FY 22-23. Our cash flow for the 6 months ending September 2021 were adversely affected by the increase of inventory levels. While the inventory turnover ratio is consistent vis-a-vis the last period, the increase is mainly due to the growth of turnover and partly due to the tactical stocking as advised by our principals. We are hoping to rationalize the working capital in the next 6 months or so. Overall financial performance of the company for the quarter and the first half of FY 22 has been satisfactory and in line with our internal targets. As regards our pending merger application, we are pleased to inform that the NCLT Mumbai bench in its hearing held on 20th October 2021 has heard the matter and reserved its order. The final order from the Honorable NCLT bench is awaited, and we think that we will get the final order within a month or so. In terms of the new CAPEX, the board has authorized the management to invest up to 130 crores, of which 100 crores is for the newly added health and wellness division and rupees 30 crores for the color cosmetic business. We are confident of funding this CAPEX through internal accruals and debt. We reiterate our near-term and long-term targets for the revenues and profitability as we continue to focus on accelerating growth through exploring organic and inorganic opportunities. With this, we also remain focused on strengthening our balance sheet and cash flows through effective capital management, which would facilitate us for the further growth. With this, I would like to open the floor for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Participants present on the audio bridge who wish to ask questions may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question from the line of Faisal Hawa from AG Hawa and Company. Please go ahead.
Samir, congratulations on a good set of numbers once again. 4 questions. What is the contribution of our top 3 customers to our total revenue? Second is, we mentioned in a previous con call that there is a person who is now appointed for private labels, and so what is the specific progress that she has made in the previous 2 quarters? Then third is the FMCG majors are now facing a lot of cost pressures due to raw materials rising manifold. So has there been many instances in this quarter where we have lost margins, or we've had to bear something for 1.5, 2 months, and that has caused some dent into our profitability? And fourth is any specific decision we have made in the health and wellness segment to really expand revenues?
Okay, hi Faisal, how are you doing? You've asked 4 questions. I'll try and answer all of them. The top 3 customers currently would constitute nearly 80% of our turnover. And the second question was about private label division. We've started the private label division, and as you rightly pointed out, Nalini Kalra is heading that private label division. We've reached out to a bunch of customers. I can't specify who, but we've started working with a couple of retail players as well as a few D2C brands. However, in terms of the total size and significance of that business, it's still extremely small and pretty much a rounding of error as far as Hindustan Foods is concerned. However, as I have pointed out in my previous calls as well, private label is a very important part of our future growth strategy, and we are putting money where our mouth is in terms of developing these customers. I think the success of Nykaa and some of the other brands, including Glamour, Purple, etc., both in the stock market and off the stock market, proves that private labels and B2C brands are going to be here to stay. That also kind of explains our expansion and diversification into color cosmetics and personal care products. We see a lot of action happening in that space, especially with the B2C brands. Just today morning, I think there's talk about Faces Cosmetics being taken over by Purple. So we see a lot of action in that space. Third, your question was about the cost pressures, and I think that was something I addressed in my opening remarks, that yes, there is inflationary pressures for all of our customers. However, the construct of our contract is such that all of these pressures, all of these inflationary pressures are passed on to our customers. There could be a time lag between the passing on and when the actual effect comes in our books. But principally, we are not, let's say, exposed to any of the inflationary pressures. So that way, there's no risk to our numbers as far as the inflation is concerned. I think the other question that you asked within the inflationary subject is whether the customers are coming back to us and asking us to reduce our margins. And again, if you look at the construct of our business, our margins, especially in case of the dedicated manufacturing, are guaranteed for the next 7 to 10 years. So we don't end up renegotiating margins due to these short-term events. Your fourth question is about health and wellness. Again, you are right that Sanjay is being appointed as the head of health and wellness. We are very confident and bullish about this. We have identified some opportunities which we have discussed with the board, and the board has given us a go-ahead to invest nearly 100 crores in these opportunities. I unfortunately am not at a liberty to discuss this in the granular details right now, but I'm quite confident that the next time we meet in a couple of months, I should be able to announce what exactly are we doing with this new investment.
And due to this cost pressure that the FMCG majors are feeling, do you think there are now more conversations to outsource even more manufacturing to proven outsourcers like us?
So, Faisal, that is something that we've been talking about for nearly a couple of years now, right? I mean, all of these things, including, and yes, you're right that the current bout of inflation is probably a catalyst as far as that thought process is concerned. But GST, decentralization of manufacturing, the growing private labels and the D2C brands, all of that is leading our customers to rethink about their manufacturing strategy. It's leading them to rethink about the benefit of owning a manufacturing facility versus outsourcing it, and also in some cases, let's say, divesting it.
Thank you so much for answering all my questions so well.
Thank you, Faisal.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Akash Zaveri from Perpetual Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi, Samir, and good afternoon, and congratulations on very good and stable set of numbers. Am I audible?
Yes, Akash, we can hear you very well.
Yeah. So my first question was that, we had a facility in Silvassa which went live in May of 2021. So in the first quarter, and this is because, you mentioned in the opening remarks that our business is slightly predictable. So I was expecting, a little more contribution from the Silvassa plant, because in Q1, it would have only like a 1.5 month of contribution, but in Q2, it would also ramp up, and also there would be a full quarter effect. So what exactly am I missing here? Was there like some, was the throughput lower in some other plants, or what exactly am I missing?
Sure. Akash, so two things. The products that we are manufacturing in Silvassa are hygiene products. Frankly, post-COVID, the sale of hygiene products for our principals hasn't been as robust as it was pre-COVID. You're seeing this, if I can say, slowdown in the demand for sanitizers, floor cleaners, etc., especially as people get more and more used to living with COVID. That's one of the reasons why the offtake has not been as high as we would have liked. Second, in terms of the total potential of the Silvassa facilities, both of those facilities are much smaller in terms of investments as compared to the larger investments in Hyderabad, Coimbatore, or for that matter, the ice cream project. So even at its peak capacity, we basically expect them to do around 100-125 crores of turnover on an annual basis.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much for that. I perfectly answered my question. Thank you so much. The second question was, so our effective tax rate is pretty high. So could you just comment why is our effective tax rate so high, and what would be an expected tax rate going forward?
Before Mayank answers it, I'm going to try and get our finance minister online and ask her why our tax rate is so high.
No, actually, I'm talking about the effective tax rate, like, if I just see as a percentage.
I'm just putting your hang on. Mayank is doing this and is kicking me as well.
So Akash, we are at the maximum tax rate possible because of the deferred tax, because we have invested so much money in that. And also we have not opted out for the new tax rate which was announced by government a year back, where the effective tax rate will be around 25-26%, because we have a good amount of MAT which is there, and we have good amount of we expect from the merger of ATC we will have the good amount of carry forward losses. If we go to the new tax rate which is announced, we have to lose all those things,
Understood.
Currently at the maximum tax rate. Once we utilize our MAT and we utilize our carry forward losses, we can always go back to the new tax rate of effective tax rate of 25% is government norm, which allows any time any company can opt for that. But once you opt it, you cannot go back to the previous tax rate. That is the catch in there.
Got it.
To elaborate that further, so you're right that the tax rate is practically in the nosebleed category as far as we are concerned, and it's obviously very painful for us as well. What we have done is we've also set up a subsidiary, as you are aware, which is called Hindustan Foods HFL Consumer Products. That subsidiary was set up primarily to leverage the tax exemption or the concessional tax rate announced by the government for new companies setting up new factories. So our new project and all greenfield projects will probably be housed in this subsidiary. The second thing that we've tried to do, so that will be at 15% tax rate as these projects start taking off. So for example, the Lucknow project where we are going to manufacture ice cream is housed in the subsidiary. The second thing that's happening is that in terms of, like Mayank said, the merger and our continued investment, I don't see the effective tax rate for HFL changing at least for the next couple of years.
Understood. Thank you so much for that. My third question was, so what are our plans for the shoe manufacturing plant at Tamil Nadu? So what will be the kind of investment outlay, asset turns, and expected timeline for the same?
Sure. So the shoe manufacturing plant, just to give you some background, this was a business that we acquired in 2015-16, which was predominantly a leather business, right? And we've been manufacturing only the leather shoes in these factories. Just about a year ago, the government announced certain import duties on knitted shoe wear, which are basically the sports shoes. And as a result, there is an increased demand for setting up sports shoes facilities in the country. What we've done is we're just setting up a new factory to cater to this demand, which will basically be making knitted shoes and sports shoes. This is the first facility that we are setting up in Tindivanam. We've actually started the construction of that facility, and we are hoping that in Q4 of this year we'll be able to start production. To be fair and to be honest, actually we are taking baby steps as far as that category is concerned, because it's a completely different category as compared to leather shoes. What we're going to do currently is we're going to do some kind of assembly of knitted shoe wear, and then depending on the demand and depending on our experience with the customers, we will then invest a further sum of money into getting into the actual knitting of the shoe uppers. All I can say is that it looks like a very interesting business diversification for us. If the government continues with its Atmanirbharta plan, I think making sports shoes in India could become a really large business.
Got it. And what
this factory is being set up? Sorry, Akash,
yeah, sorry.
One last thing. This factory is being set up to manufacture sports shoes for Bata.
For Bata, okay. And also, the last question, how much are we planning to invest in this facility?
So right now the investment will be just around,
3 to 4 crores.
yeah, so right now the investment will be just around 5 crores.
Okay.
We are
Okay.
renting the plant and building. So we are not investing in the building and the land. Like I said, once we get an experience for this, then we will get into the knitted part of it, which will require an investment of close to 50 crores.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. The next question is, how much more capex for UPR Hyderabad is remaining out of the 275 that is earmarked for that? How much is remaining?
For the new expansion, the bar project.
Yeah, the UP plant and the Hyderabad new facilities. How much capex is remaining now?
Okay, wait. So when you say remaining, what do you mean? From a cash flow perspective, from a capitalization perspective?
From like spending perspective, that how much, like out of the 275 that we want to invest overall, what part is already invested and how much more capex is still left?
Sure. So the breakup is that we have an investment of close to 100 crores in Lucknow. We have an investment of close to 100 crores in the health and wellness division. We have an investment of close to 100 crores in the Hyderabad bar project. And we have an investment of close to 30 crores in the new color cosmetics division that we've talked about. So this is a total of 330 crores of investment that is going to be done between this year and the next.
Got it. And for the 100 crores in UP, from a cash flow perspective, how much more capex is still remaining?
Akash, we are hoping to start production from the next quarter. So we are nearly 70% done in terms of the project.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Sorry, just a couple of more questions. So are you exploring export market very aggressively, or are we yet mainly focused on the domestic market because we see it as a very big market still?
For the FMCG division, I would say that we continue to be focused at the domestic market. For the shoe business, obviously export is a very large part of our business. I'm happy to share with you that Hindustan Foods now is a recognized export house on the back of the exports that we've been doing for the last couple of years in the leather business.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Just another question. I'm sorry to touch upon the ATC norm again, but how long do we expect to bleed, and will the profits in the summers, like the seasonal months, be enough to set off for the rest of the year?
Akash, my heart is bleeding here. So listen, Akash. So ATC We have again, for the third year in running, a full order book for the season. We've also announced a small capex that we are doing for Tata Global Beverages in that facility. So we've signed a contract with them, which is a long-term contract, a dedicated part of the factory. So ATC will now become an anchor tenant model as compared to the shared model. All I can say is we all are extremely hopeful that in Q4 of FY22, ATC should turn around. The way the business of beverages is that in the first 6 months, the amount of money that you make should tide you over for the whole year. But for the last 2 years, frankly, we've lost those seasons, the summer seasons for both of the years. To answer your question, yes, we are hopeful that between let's say Feb and June of next year, we are confident that we should be able to recoup all the losses that we've made.
Great, thank you. And the last question on my side. What are the kind of problems that we are facing with, let's say, freight, cost of raw material? Are there any major problems that our company is facing currently?
I'm going to ask Ganesh to answer that question. Yeah.
The present problems that we are facing are, basically, transportation, cost increase, make or buy decision, the complexity of the business, because we manufacture everything from a baby food product to a mosquito coil. So these are the problems that we face every now and then. But these are regular problems which we are able to take care of.
Got it. Thank you. And in your opening remarks, you mentioned that we're planning to fund the color cosmetics and healthcare with internal accruals and debt. So we are already at 1x debt to equity. So how much debt are we looking to raise, and how do we plan to fund it? If you could give a breakup.
Mayank will answer that, Akash.
Yeah.
So Akash, our debt to equity is currently at a very comfortable level of 1:1, where 250 crores of debt and 250 crores of it. We are hoping to take around 150 crores of debt more, and for the year, and because of the year profit, our equity will also grow. So by year end, we are at the end of the cycle. We hope that we will be at the same levels again. In the interim, the debt equity can go up and down, but when this new factory start contributing, we hope that our debt to equity will come back to the same level.
Got it. Understood. Thank you so much, Mr. Kothari and team, for answering all my questions so patiently. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Akash.
Thank you. A reminder to all participants on the audio present, you may enter *1 to ask a question. The next question from the line of Sahil Jain from Proactive Securities. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I have 2 questions. Sir, firstly, are there any inorganic opportunities that we are currently exploring? What has been our strategic focus on these opportunities in terms of industry, segment, products, etc.?
Hi, Sahil. Yes, if you follow the company, you'd have noticed that we are quite open to acquisitions. We've done a few of them in the last few years. We continue to look at acquisitions, let's say, very strongly. I'm unable to give you any further details on this, but all I can say is yes, acquisitions definitely form a part of our growth strategy.
Thank you, sir. That helps. And sir, lastly, as we are... Hello?
Yeah, Sahil, I was just apologizing that I can't give you any more details. I'm hoping by next quarter we should be able to give you some more granular details about our plans.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that, sir. And sir, lastly, as we are finally seeing the merger happening between Avalon Cosmetics, ATC Beverages, sir, what kind of revenue addition are we expecting from this merger?
So, Akash, both the major part of this acquisition or merger is the malted business, which is at the conversion cost level. It is not a revenue. It is not a sale level because only we bill the conversion cost. So the turnover is less, but the profitability is same as our other businesses.
Just to elaborate on that, Sahil, we are merging two facilities, one of which is ATC Beverages. ATC Beverages, the accounts have always been published along with our quarterly accounts, so you will have an idea of what the turnover and what the bottom line of that facility is. In case of the Coimbatore facility, it's actually it's packing malted beverages. But we do not buy the packing material and the raw material. It is supplied by the customer, and as a result, the revenue is only that of the conversion cost. However, it's a dedicated factory which packs around 50,000 tons of product. So that should give you some idea of the size of that facility.
Thank you, sir. That helps. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahil.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may enter star one to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Ashutosh Agarwal from NB India. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. Is my voice audible?
Yes, Ashutosh, we can hear you.
Yeah, firstly,
Ashutosh,
I want to thank you so much for the opportunity, and I want to thank you to Hindustan Company as a team and Mr. Samir Kothari ji and all the management for huge value creation. So I invested in 2017 January. It's been amazing 4-5 years, and definitely I'm very much impressed with the way the company is executing the business. So thank you so much for all your efforts and making a very good value creation for the shareholders.
Thank you, Ashutosh. You just made our day.
Sorry?
I said you just made our day. We all are very happy.
No, you have
rarely that shareholders really compliment the management.
No. It's the first time I'm attending the con call because I am primarily long-term investor only. So definitely you people have made our portfolio shine. So definitely thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So I want to know 2 or 3 things for the long-term perspective. First of all, we are targeting 4,000 crore sales by 2025. But the vision which I generally saw in the presentation that the contract manufacturing sector is having a huge scope of maybe doing 50,000 crore turnover. So previously in the last 5 years, we have grown exponentially. But from 2022, we are planning to grow at 30% CAGR. So are there any additional plans to ramp up more growth from 2022 to 2025?
Ashutosh, so if I can, so basically, I think I kind of addressed that in my opening remarks. When the company was smaller, it was easier for us to kind of double the turnovers, etc. But the 4,000 crore target that we've set for ourselves is on a base of 2,000 crores, and it envisages a 25% growth per annum on a compounded basis from here on. So I don't see us being able to double turnover every year like we used to earlier, because predominantly our business is that of manufacturing. When you look at the execution involved in terms of setting up a manufacturing facility, hiring the people, hiring the workers, getting the machines ramped up, etc., there's a lot of work involved. Unlike a platform business, where once the platform is set up, it's very easy to ramp up turnovers, and the Zomatos and the Nykas of the world can boast of 40-50% growth even at that base figure. In case of manufacturing companies, it's very, very difficult to be able to do that, because currently we have a team of more than 2,500 people. Imagine being able to double 4,000 crores. We believe that we will be able to grow further. We are trying to take it in bits and pieces as far as the future is concerned, so that we don't end up falling flat on our faces when it comes to commitments made to our shareholders. We have some amount of visibility, which is what I laid out in my opening statement about how we will go from 2,000 crores to 4,000 crores. In a couple of years, I'll come back to you, and I'm hoping that you'll be a shareholder even then. That how we'll go from, let's say, 4,000 to 7,000 or wherever else life takes us.
Yeah, definitely. I have full trust on the management and the business model, especially because we are the largest contract manufacturer, and I feel there is a lot of scope when I compare the things with the China. So this is quite a valid point that it is very easy to grow for a small company, but when we have already grown recently, it will be hard to double turnover every year. So it's a fair point. The next thing I want to discuss is about the potential shoe manufacturing business which we are planning out. So are we planning out for IPL teams, or what are our potential customer can be? Are we targeting the niche segment, because that is a very high revenue generating segment and there is a lot of demand everywhere in the country for shoes and for the sports items?
So you're right, Asutosh, but you have to realize we are a contract manufacturer. So what we do is we basically end up manufacturing for marketeers. Marketeers in turn tie up with IPL teams, sports people, whatever kind of marketing, branding they want to do. This particular facility that we are investing in is being set up for Bata. As you're aware, Bata is a very, very strong presence in India, both in terms of retail as well as the heritage of the brand. We are going to start manufacturing for them. I believe demand should not be a problem at all for the product category and for the size of the facility that we are setting up.
Okay. And I want to continue this question through the brand Unorthodox, which we launched. So how we are going to shape that brand in going future?
Asutosh, Unorthodox is unfortunately being chopped up as one of the mistakes that I had made. We have since the launch of Unorthodox and since our failed attempt at investing in some B2C companies, we've realized very quickly, if I may say so, that our strength does not lie in branding or marketing. We've decided to focus only on the back end of FMCG business, which is manufacturing. So as a result, Unorthodox has actually been pulled off the market, and now we do only contract manufacturing of shoes.
Okay, no problem, sir. So thanks for clarification on this. One more thing which
I hope you continue to be our shareholder even after we've decided to share Unorthodox.
Definitely, sir. I don't invest in products, to be very honest. I invest in people, and everybody do so. So as I mentioned in my first line, that I have full faith on Mr. Samir Kothari ji and his whole team. So business, ultimately as an investor, we trust on the management, and we have full faith on every decision which the management is taking.
So thank you so much.
I personally feel. Yeah, but what I generally feel for Hindustan Food, that I will be a shareholder when Hindustan Food will have a turnover of 50,000 crore. Whether it takes 10 years, 20 years, that is up to the destiny. But this is my personal conviction for the company. And I believe that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I believe that we can do this because contract manufacturing is having a lot of scope.
I hope you're not following me on Twitter because I tweet like Elon Musk, okay?
Definitely. I will search the Twitter account and I will follow.
No, don't follow.
No, it will be proud.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and sir, one more thing which I generally have in the back of my mind. When I see Hindustan Food after 10 years from here, so I think that our company will be a very renowned company. Today also it is very renowned. But the way we are manufacturing the toilet cleaning solution like Harpic, or we are manufacturing the shampoo which we are doing for HUL. So after 5 years, 10 years, people will able to recognize Hindustan Food as a separate company. So are we planning to launch our own products in the future, maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line, and direct entering into the B2C segment, because that will help us to improve the margins and building a brand. So are we having plans, something like that?
No, Ashutosh, we actually have no plans to launch our brand. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we are very clear, at least while I am the managing director of the company, that we will not again make the mistake of getting into branding, marketing like we did with Anor, and we will not get into investing in D2C brands like we tried to do earlier as well. We are very happy doing the back end contract manufacturing. We think, and like you rightly said, the potential is very large. We have a huge runway ahead of us. I don't think we need to diversify into something which we don't understand and something that we are not capable of.
Okay, sir. Perfectly fine. Definitely, as a shareholder, we are having big expectations, but it is very nice to management and take the ground reality and input. So thank you so much for all your efforts.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. A reminder to all participants, you may enter star 1 to ask a question. The next question from the line of Ronak Jain from Jain Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. 2 questions from my end. Number 1, what is the contribution of different product segments in our revenues at present? Like how much is from personal care, how much is from food and beverages? Any ballpark number you can share. Secondly, can you share a bit more detail of the new capex of 100 crores in health and wellness segment? Like what kind of products will be manufactured in this segment? And this capex is just for a single pharma client, or it could be a multiple client?
So, Ronak, hi. Ronak, first let me address the health and wellness question, because unfortunately that's a short answer. I'm not at a liberty to discuss the specifics of where this 100 crores is going to get invested. All I can tell you is we have presented to the board certain very tangible proposals which they have asked us to go ahead and explore and close if we can. As soon as they are closed, we will come back to you and to the shareholding body to inform them of what we have done. But right now, all I can say is the opportunities that we are looking at are within the space of health and wellness. I think maybe I should take a minute just to explain the difference between pharma and health and wellness. We're looking at product categories which are adjacent to the current products that we manufacture. So we're not looking at getting into manufacturing of, let's say, injectables or tablets or any kind of medicines, but we are definitely looking at getting into products which are FMCG but with a therapeutic value. And that's the area that we are targeting with the health and wellness division that we've set up. In terms of our breakup between personal care and home care and food and beverages, we frankly are quite agnostic as far as those product categories are concerned, because the business model that we have is equally applicable to all the 3 product categories. But just from an academic interest perspective, the food and beverages would contribute close to 40% of our business. The home care would contribute close to 40%. And the personal care would contribute 20%. With our current diversification that we are trying to do in the color cosmetics, we are hoping that the share of personal care products will increase further.
Okay. One last question from my end. You have been giving a guidance of 4,000 crore revenues by financial year 25. Can you share what kind of ROE, ROC, like return ratios are being targeted by that period? And what is the overall strategy in terms of improving operating margins, profitability, and of course the return ratios as I mentioned in the coming years?
Sure. So I think Mayank and I both kind of covered this question in our opening remarks. I've kind of laid down the path from 2,000 crores to 4,000 crores in terms of what investments will be contributing to that growth. And Mayank mentioned about the ROCE numbers, where we are and how we expect to at least be where we are or improve them further as the capital work in progress starts contributing to revenues. I'm unable to give you any specific numbers, but all I can say is I'll just repeat very quickly. I'll ask Mayank to repeat very quickly what he had mentioned at the time of the opening remarks.
So, yeah, Ronak. So we are currently at around 19% of ROCE. We expect to better it because of our huge amount of capital which is in work in progress. So we expect it to grow, and we expect the same lines to be same ratios will be there as we grow from here to FY25.
Got it. That's all from my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronak.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may enter star one to ask a question. The next question from the line of Akhil Parekh from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi Samir, hi Mayank. Thanks for the opportunity. My first question is, we are targeting 4,000 crores of top line in next 3 years, and currently 80% of our sales come from top 3 clients. So how do we see this mix changing in next 3 years, or will we still be largely focused on in the current top 3 clients?
Hi, Akhil. Akhil, so two or three things will change, right? One is the health and wellness division will start contributing to the revenues, which is the growth from the 2,000 to 4,000 crores. And that set of customers will be slightly different from our current FMCG pool. In terms of our current FMCG client portfolio, unfortunately or fortunately, it is going to represent the overall FMCG market. And the overall FMCG market in India is that you have certain companies which are extremely large, and as a result, they have a huge share of market as far as the FMCG market is concerned. And consequently, we have a large share of business from them. I don't see that changing rapidly. In the long term, I see that changing thanks to the private labels and the D2C brands which are coming up. And as a result, we set up our private labeling division nearly a year and a half ago to start nurturing that business. You would see that the private labeling and the D2C brands are beginning to get a lot more mind space now, even as compared to, let's say, 6 months ago. And I think that will continue in the next few years. But for them to be a sizable player in the FMCG overall basket is at least a few years away.
Okay, and that is largely because their volumes are relatively small at this point of the time. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Got it. Right. The second question.
In spite of
sure, go ahead.
In spite of all the noise and the market capitalization across these new age companies, the fact of the matter is they are currently very small. We are all hopeful, both as shareholders as well as business partners, we are hopeful that they will continue to grow at 40-50% for the next 10 years or maybe till FY41, as one of your brethren has put out. And in FY41, we are hoping that we will contribute a substantial chunk of business from them.
Sure, got it. The second question is on the, like in the previous calls, you had alluded that, a CRO, that is contract research or contract development, would be your next phase of growth cycle. So is it too early to comment, or is it something we have kind of started looking at, like maybe post FY24 or 25?
We started doing, but it's very, very small, and I frankly wouldn't even want to waste your time on on what we're doing there. All I can say is we've started working on it. We've set up a small lab. We've recruited some people. Some of the D2C brands and the private labels that we are doing are our own formulations. But like I said, it's way too early to talk about it.
Got it. Samir, is there a seasonality in our business? Whether when we look at quarterly numbers, should we be looking QoQ numbers rather than YOY numbers, or YOY is appropriate measure?
So this is one of the reasons I kind of mentioned, and these were all questions which we were kind of expecting, and this is why in my opening remarks I mentioned that setting up a factory requires a gestation of nearly a year or so, right? So when we announce a factory in one of our patients or one of our interactions with you and with the investor community, it takes nearly a year for that to come to start contributing to the revenues. Now, what happens is once production has stabilized in one of our facilities, then quarter on quarter we don't expect any nominal growth from that facility. Once the facility has ramped up, it's a very boring, predictable business where it continues to deliver the same turnover and the same numbers year after year, especially in case of long-term contracts for nearly 5-7 years. However, the excitement comes from new factories being set up, and that takes nearly a year or so to reach its peak level. So there's some amount of ramping up time, but once it reaches its peak level, then it's very stable. So if you have to look at our numbers, I would say for a same store comparison, which in our case it would be same factory comparison, the same factory comparison numbers would be the same Q on Q. The difference would be the year on year, which would be the expansion in the number of factories, or the which could be either greenfield, brownfield, or acquisition, or a ramping up, which would be for a short period of maybe like 6 months.
Got
Does that make sense?
Yes. This is very helpful. And last question on the capex plan, you mentioned that 330 odd crore is the capex guidance for next 2 years. So after this, so including this 300 crore of capex, we should be able to kind of reach to the 4,000 crore of sales level, right?
Yes, and maybe a little bit more.
Okay, got it. That's all from my side, and best wishes for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, we will take that as the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Vimal Solanki, Head Emerging Businesses and Corporate Communications, for closing comments.
Thank you, Jacob. So the overall operational and financial performance in the first half of FY22 has been in line with the company's targets. We have been able to grow our revenues and profitability reasonably well during this period and in step to meet our medium-term and long-term goals. Our immediate goal is to reach rupees 2,000 crore revenue in FY22 and then doubling it in the next 3 years. Demand for FMCG continues to be strong and expected to remain robust going ahead, and we continue to believe there is enormous unexploited potential in the FMCG contract manufacturing space. Our focus on accelerating growth through our steadfast keeping exploring organic and inorganic opportunities, and we are confident of seizing a larger pie in the space in the forthcoming years. I take this opportunity to thank everyone for taking out time and joining this call today. And dear Ashutosh, it's because of the faith and conviction of shareholders and well-wishers like you that keeps up our optimism, our morale high, and push us to do more. I hope we have been able to address information. Feel free to connect with us or with strategic growth advisors. They are our investor relations advisors. Please continue keeping the distances, wearing your masks, and washing your hands. Thank you again, and good day. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you. On behalf of that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.